Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Comics and Page-Chewing Comics and Manga. Pick of the Week. This is episode 31. And if you've never joined us before and this is your first time, this is where Steve and I'm one of the co-hosts, Mike. We talk about new, hot off the presses, single issue comics. And, you know, we are both essentially getting back into comics after quite a bit of time hiatus. Myself is probably more extreme than Steve because I probably only was going to comic stores when I was a very young lad, and I never had like a real pull list until here I am in my, the middle years of my life here. And we're continuing on this trajectory of discussion, and in my case now I'm talking about issue number 3 and 4, so I've had almost a full arc of some of these. I know Steve has been doing the podcast a lot longer, so that's, at least for me today, there's at least one or two series that are kind of coming to an end. Without further ado, I'm happy to kick us off with my first comic, which is Blood Commandment number 4. And this is by Simon Zdarsky. And this is it's Image, and as I mentioned, it's number 4 of 4. So this is the finale issue of Blood Commandment. I think both Steve and I have read some of the issues. So I have to say, right off the bat, there was a typo on page 1, and there were a few other typos. So I think I noticed that before as well. I mean, that's not the end of the world, but it definitely took me out of it a little bit. So we learn here a little bit late, I feel, unless I missed it. The main character is a vampire, and we learn some of the rules of vampirism. I feel like maybe that could have been introduced earlier, but it's very important to this last issue. I won't spoil what they are. I mean, the artwork is as good and gothic horror as we've come to experience with Zdarsky. However, I mean, in some cases, I had some mixed feelings about the finale here. I won't go into too much detail. There is some good story about grief and dealing with grief and loss, and very difficult decisions that have to be made. I'm just not so sure if I agree with the decisions that are made here. But it's certainly not. It's a good series. I'm not sure if for me he stuck the landing here. It seemed a little bit rushed in a way because there's a few pages that are just filled with dialogue. And I don't think that's what we had seen in the first 3 issues. At least it seemed striking to me. I think if you're a big vampire fan, it's still a great series. One positive that I will note, I don't know if this is just Image or what, but there's like no ads for anything else except for one, maybe one. This is a coming attraction. I know that seems probably very minor and not a good thing to end on, but one last thing I will maybe mention is he really amped up the religious references here, and that didn't bother me so much, but that seemed to be a change of pace as well. So I think some people might certainly be into that, I don't necessarily have a problem with it, but this is the end, so I can't say I'm going to continue or not. And like I said, I stuck through it, and I think if you're in, it's a good horror series. So yeah.
So I'm a little bit bummed out that you didn't. Well, I haven't read the fourth one yet, but I was hoping for because I feel like I think overall, I think the artwork and the presentation was probably my favorite thing about the book. So it's a bummer that it didn't stick the landing for you.
Yeah, I think I don't know what happened. It probably should have been 2 issues. There is a pretty big, I will say the last 3 pages or so are shocking in a way. See, it's not, I didn't expect the ending, so that is a good thing, I should say. I'm just not sure if the decision that was made, I would make the same decision. So if you read it, I'd love to hear what you think.
Oh, yeah. I must have missed it this week. I didn't see it on the shelf, so I'm kind of bummed I missed it. But yeah,
I
I'll
had
get
this
to it
one on my pull list, so they had it ready for me, ready to go.
Good old pull lists. So the first one I had this week was Batman 143. This is Joker Year 1, Issue 2. This is by Chip Zdarsky, by DC Comics, of course. So the thing about, we say this every week, the thing about coming back to these capes and cowls and the superhero books is there's just so much continuity that I often just don't know what's going on. Not going to beat a dead horse here, but I'm just trying to get into these books and not really just kind of go with it. There's some storylines from other books that were incorporated into this one, and some elements that just went over my head. But it looks like they're almost retconning, or they're re-envisioning Joker's origin story, kind of what made him him. And we bounce back and forth between the previous time in the past and the future, and both sets of artwork. There's different artists that do the past and the present, or the past and the future possibly. And I just fantastic artwork. It is a little, I do like the art. There's some really great panels that I really love the artwork. I've seen that people are upset about this, about the kind of the reimagining of Joker's origin story, and kind of the connection that they're developing, the similarities between Joker and Batman, or that they're kind of retconning Joker's origin story. And I kind of understand that. Like, I kind of get, like, he has an origin, kind of leave it alone and let it be. But for someone like me who's not really invested in all that stuff, it's kind of fun to see like a different, kind of like an Elseworlds tale, and kind of a different origin story, and kind of to, see them in a different light. So for this, I think Joker seemed more formidable because of this origin story. He seemed a little bit more dangerous. I won't get into why, I spoil it, but like I said, great artwork throughout. And I enjoyed it. I thought it was okay. I thought kind of just go with it and just let things be what they be. And there's like a 3 Joker timeline, or like a 3 Joker storyline at some point. I don't know what that's all about, but I'm just trying to go with it. So it was okay. It was all right.
This shows that maybe I'm not paying attention to our own podcast here, but are you reading 2 different kind of Batman series? Okay. 3.
I'm reading actually 3.
So I'm having trouble following then.
Yeah, because there's the Batman main title, then there's Joker, Batman City of Madness, which we'll talk about later. And there's also Batman Gargoyle of Gotham.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm really, I know we've heard rumors about this, like this ultimate kind of like this else, like a whole different universe being developed, where they kind of start off from square one, kind of like an ultimate universe in the DC universe. Kind of, I'm looking forward to that. I think that's going to be good for people like us who aren't invested or know really what's all the history or what's happened even years ago. I just don't know. So, but this one was okay. I enjoyed it.
All right. So I'm going to speak about the Holy Roller. this is also by Image. I actually read issue 2 and issue 3, and I just found out today that issue 4 just came out. So in my case, this is a pretty big gap.
Wow.
From when I talked about issue 1. It might have been the very first time we chatted, Steve. So I don't know if I want to do a recap of what happened, but I could just briefly say, that the main character, Levi, it's kind of it's an origin story, I believe, about some type of superhero. But he doesn't seem to have any powers. But he, in the first issue, he comes back home and I believe visits his father and his, after being in the military. And then I think he's also does like Greenpeace. And then like he notices that his town is like run amok with just different gangs. And essentially, I believe they're neo-Nazis. By the way, that's another comic I read also has that, so it's kind of a trend.
Yeah.
So in Holy Roller 2 and 3, which is by Rick Remender and Andy Samberg from Saturday Night Live, as well as Joe Troman. I think these are 3 authors, so it's a triple author series. We're continuing with kind of his origin story, and basically he's beaten up these, bad dudes. As I mentioned, it's a slow burn. There's there's on the cover, both covers of number 2 and 3, there's like this superhero looking guy with these yellow eyes, and he's got a big bowling ball, and that's like his weapon of choice, I guess, even though he's kind of like a reluctant hero. He doesn't mean to be doing anything. And so we explore how he continues to evade these bad dudes. But I believe it's building up, it's building up for something more. And there's really no super, in air quotes, elements here. I do want to keep reading. There is humor out. There's a lot of humor going on that's overall pretty good. The Big Lebowski references continue, so I'm okay with that.
The dude abides.
Yeah, the bums will always lose. But there is violence in here. I don't know, is the violence, what is the purpose? There is quite a lot of more like fisticuffs. And for whatever reason, Levi is very skilled. I think that has something to do with his military training. But yeah, I'm going to continue, and I think we'll probably talk about it next week because I have issue 4 and maybe something bigger is going to happen.
Nice. Yeah, I remember when I think it was the first episode you were on is Holy Roller 1. So is this supposed to be over the top and funny, or are they going for more of a serious tone?
I would say it's almost like there's different scenes that are funny, and then it's more serious. So it's kind of I would say I'm not sure how to describe it. It's reserved enough that it's not over the top. I don't think really. There is some serious elements here, of course, for sure. So there's, it's not all funny. It's a pretty good, I think it's a good interplay so far. That's not my big takeaway, is that this is a funny, you know what I mean? This is a funny book. It's just, it's different because it's not, you don't really kind of know where it's going. And yeah, like I said, I want to keep reading. I just don't know why totally, but yeah, it's good. It's good. Yeah. I definitely want to keep going.
Huh. Well, I guess that's good. I mean, it's good enough, I guess, keeping you going, even if you're not sure why.
I think it was a little bit of a tough week. I know you've had a few of those, maybe for whatever reason.
Oh yeah.
I feel like I had a little bit more of a difficult week.
Yeah. Oh yeah, those weeks happen for sure. So my second book is If You Find This, I'm Already Dead, issue 1 by Matt Kint, Dan McDade, and Bill Crabtree. So in this one, it's the setup. There's lots of setup in this one, lots of kind of setting the stage. The military has found a portal that leads to Terminus, which is like a different plane of existence, a different reality. And once the humans venture there, naturally they find things that are hostile. And there's been some expeditions there, and we've kind of set up a green zone in Terminus. And we follow along with a reporter, and she's along with a group of soldiers going into Terminus to examine and document and kind of learn more about it. And as they do, things go wrong very quickly, very wrong very quickly. And so yeah, the reporter finds herself in not the best situation. This one, I think, lots and lots of setup in this one, lots of setting the stage, and I didn't mind it too much. I think it wasn't the best first issue I've read, but I do really like the kind of the we find a portal and we're not sure where it goes, and there's these other civilizations living there. There's their hierarchies that we have to contend with, and what place do we have in these different realities? Should we even be there? Do we have a right to be there? Do we have a right to go there and do anything? I mean, should we explore? Should we leave them alone? So I think there's lots of questions to ask and to answer. And yeah, it was enough for me to pick up issue 2. I think there's some potential here.
Sorry about that. I had a problem with my microphone. Terminus, I think is that a reference to what's the new Apple series, the sci-fi series? Now I'm blanking on it.
Oh, I forget the name of it.
The Isaac Asimov. It's the Isaac Asimov series. Anyway, I think that's like one of the planets on there. I wonder if that's a reference. But I checked out the preview online, and Dark Horse really hasn't. They give you like 6 pages, so you can really get a sense of what you're getting into. I like that, so I might actually use that more. But I wish I had seen that one. That the title is catchy.
Yeah, I like that. I like the title, and I really like the artwork. I think the artwork was pretty good. I enjoyed the kind of it fit the story pretty well. But yeah, I think and the Terminus, I believe Terminus is the planet in Pandorum. I don't know if you've seen Pandorum.
No.
I believe it's Terminus that they're traveling to in Pandorum. So that's where my mind went. But yeah, I think it's, I dig the title, and yeah, it all did enough for me to be on board.
Great. Yeah. So my next book is The Ministry of Compliance. This is by IDW, and this issue number 3. A little bit of a bummer for me. I think this series started off, number 1, I thought started off pretty well. Yet I think I had some issues with it. I really like the cover. I'm hesitant to talk about covers because there's so many variants, but luckily I have cover A, and it has these kind of dudes and, or I should say people in wearing suits and, fancy attire with like chimpanzee heads, and they're holding like katanas. So I got to say the cover was awesome. That is a scene that shows up later in the book. So one of the main characters, who we know is kind of like she's like a biracial. She's part alien, part human. This issue centers around her quite a bit. And she's continuing to collect intelligence about this liberation army. And it's kind of interesting because I would say one of the things I do like about this series is you get the sense that some of these main characters are the bad guys. So you're following the the quote unquote bad guys, because the aliens, these different ministers, and then you're like, well, okay, that's there's other things going on. There's another really important subplot that makes you kind of question the motives of maybe they have good motives. They don't seem to, because they're extremely violent people and they solve all their problems with violence. And I'm not against violence. I feel like in this one it's a little too gratuitous for me at this. Maybe just at this point, maybe I'll change my mind. I don't know. I've changed my mind before. There's just a scene in here that just seems a little bit like really unbelievable. I don't want to say you're taking shortcuts, but I think the other issue is I really struggle. I had to reread the first 3 or 4 pages like 3 times. I was just really struggling to get into it. I did not have that issue with the other books I read. So I think for these reasons, I'm just feeling very meh. I'm not feeling super optimistic to continue with the series.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Even though I mean, there's some good things. Like I said, maybe it'll pick up. But I'm not the person to say like I need to care about the characters or whatever. Like I don't always know what that means. But I'm just not maybe vibing, or I'm not, something is not working for me.
Yeah, and that one, reading the first issue, I kind of wondered if there was too many elements that they were trying to juggle too many things, like trying to have too many story elements that it maybe didn't have a focus. Is that still the case?
Yeah, I think I'm okay with that. I think there's just, that could be an issue. I didn't really think about that. I think you've probably hit the nail on the head. That's one of the challenges as well. I am too lazy maybe to go back and reread the first 2 issues. I've done it before, but in this case, I wasn't able to do that. But I did feel kind of lost. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a bummer. Yeah. It's, well, I mean, I know that you're on the fence, I think, or you were kind of iffy after 2. So it sounds like 3 just didn't do it for you.
Yeah. There's a lot of other comics out there.
There's a lot. There's a ton. There's too many. We're trying to keep up. So the next one I had was Our Bones Dust, issue 3. This is by Ben Steinbeck, Dave Stewart, and Russ Wooten. This is by Image Comics. So this one, the group of cannibals catch up with the kid that we've been following around, and a twisted version of Home Alone ensues. Some fun, some fun traps and some other things. Very resourceful kid. And this one, I think, is intentionally very mysterious. We don't really know a whole lot. There's these groups of humans, and then there's groups of extraterrestrials or someone else that's observing. So this one, we get some information, a little bit of information. We get a little bit more to go on in this world. We're starting to wonder where we're going with this. Like, what's the point? But I think this one, we have a little bit of an idea where it might be going. I still don't really know where it's going, but I think that's kind of the point. So I really love the artwork and the colors, and the there's not a lot of dialogue, and the dialogue we do have from the humans is mostly broken English, or like, what would it be in this apocalyptic setting. So overall, I enjoyed it. A solid issue, and I'll continue with this one.
I'm so sorry. I'm having issues. Yeah, I'm taking a look at the covers. Yeah, when you've mentioned this before, I thought, boy, I want to pick that up. I think some of these apocalyptic ones are appealing to me. I like that it, kind of. I think I covered Bloodrick. I think that was that was also the finale last week, and there's not a lot of dialogue in there, and I'm okay with it because sometimes it's good to let the artwork shine, right? When in my case with what was it now, Blood Commandment #4, there was a few pages that was, I mean, the artwork is very good, and the dialogue was just filling half of the page, and I was like, yeah. So I think in that case, where the artwork is excellent, in the case of Blood Commandment, yeah, I think that could detract. So.
Yeah, I think this one, it's on one hand, it's almost a little jarring to have so little dialogue. Sometimes I think very little dialogue, but like you said, it gives the art a chance to shine. And I really love like the colors and the tones and the kind of the whole desert wasteland feel. So it hits the nail on that. So it hits that nail on the head for sure.
Sounds really cool. I might pick up. Do you know how many more issues are left?
I'm not sure, but I'll look it up.
Okay.
Let me find out.
While we're waiting, I'm going to talk about my last book, which I believe both of us read, and this is once again Jennifer Blood Battle Diary, and this is by Dynamite. If I didn't mention it, it's by Fred Van Lente and Robert Carey. So I gotta say, this one is just action-packed, I thought. I mean, there is not a lot of story per se, but there is like a kind of a heist scene going on here, and we don't necessarily know who's doing it in this issue, because we've got people with they're wearing like rat masks or what have you, but I won't reveal who they are, but anybody could guess probably if they listen to us talk. Because essentially, she's kind of, it does continue some of the previous story, but I didn't feel in this case that, I needed to, remember what happened in the previous two issues. It's kind of like a new episode in a way. Yet there's still some continuity from kind of her, I guess, revealing a little bit about her past, but not a ton of story. So I think it's okay once in a while to have, like just kind of an action issue. And the artwork continues for me to be very appealing for the tone. It's very gritty. I for whatever reason, I'm liking it. It's not too fancy, but it's working for me. I wish I had better words to describe it. I'm sure that you probably can, Steve. There's humor in this one that has not really failed too much for me. I think there's just one scene in here that was a little bit off-putting with that involved children. In a bus, but it was okay. I get anyway. But overall, I guess I have to say this is my soft pick of the week. It's not I didn't have a strong pick of the week this week, but I'm very curious to hear what you thought.
Pretty similar. It's like fun. It's action packed, and the black kind of. I think there's a couple of scenes with the kids in the bus, and it seemed like they're going for like a dark humor, kind of thing. But yeah, I actually wrote down not a ton of story, but I don't think that's the point. It's just fun. Just action packed. It's kind of like you're sitting down to watch a John Wick movie. I mean, you know what you're in for, and it's just it is what it is, and it doesn't try to be something deeper. Doesn't try to do, and it just action packed and kind of gets in and gets out, and it is what it is. So yeah, I thought it was okay.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see what happens in the next issue. Maybe it'll be a little bit more like I think the previous 2 issues we kind of knew a little bit more. We do get a glimpse of her kind of thinking about something that she did. So there was consequences. That was the other thing I wanted to mention that I appreciated. I know you've definitely talked about that as well. So she does something that, something that she's not proud of. And she thinks about, her mother, the original Jennifer Blood, which I have yet to read about, but I'm planning to later this year.
Yeah, to that point, I think knowing that she makes mistakes kind of humanized her a little bit. Because she's been pretty infallible, I think, for the most part. So know that she does make mistakes, and she did feel remorse for it. I do miss, or I just say I miss, but I do remember thinking back to the original Jennifer Blood that Ennis wrote. Of course, Ennis writes characters like I don't think like many other authors can write characters the way Ennis can, but she did have more of like an introspective kind of approach to Jennifer Blood, and kind of we had more of an insight into what was going on in her head and how she navigated being the vigilante and living in the shadows. So, but it's not that it's better or worse. It's just a different approach to this character. So
yeah, okay, I agree. I don't think it's as well developed here yet. Yeah, but maybe later.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, again, I don't know that that's the point. I think it's just dumb fun, like action packed. Shooting bad guys and other people on accident sometimes. It's just, yeah. But no, there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, it was exactly fun. Yeah. So actually, my pick of the week came as a surprise because I saw the cover for Batman City of Madness #4, and I for some reason had in my head that it was Batman Gargoyle of Gotham. And the cover for City of Madness was this Lovecraftian kind of Cthulhu Batman on the cover. It's a beautiful cover. And even if I knew it was City of Madness, which I think I read the first issue and then I may have read the second issue, but I wasn't crazy about it. And I would have gotten it just for the cover alone because it's a beautiful cover, just gorgeous cover. And I really enjoyed it. It was this take on, I really like when Batman, it's something that Scott Snyder did, that when he came in on the New 52, he kind of took on Gotham and treated Gotham as a character and wanted to explore more of Gotham and kind of what goes on behind in the shadows of Gotham and the things that Batman doesn't know about, or that's kind of where the Court of Owls came from during that whole run. And I really love Court of Owls. I think they're a great addition to his list of enemies, I guess. So yeah, this one, the artwork is stunning. I love the artwork in it. It sounds silly, but I love the dialogue bubbles have different colors, and it just really worked. The artwork is vivid and really fit this cosmic horror type of feel to the whole book. And again, it's this kind of play on what the Court of Owls has been up to and the things that they do in the shadows and the things that they've kept kind of under wraps and they've controlled. And we do explore a little bit of morality that, the morality that Batman has versus what Court of Owls has. So yeah, all of it really worked for me. I thought it was great. There's a couple of things that were a little silly, but overall I really enjoyed it. And I was surprised because I had kind of dipped out of City of Madness and I come back into it and it's like, wow, this is great. So yeah, it's, I believe it's the last issue I think it's the last one. So in that sense, I'm a little bit bummed out that I didn't stick with it longer because I really liked the way it ended, but definitely one I'll get a trade of, especially if that cover is on the trade. Cause I fell in love with that artwork. I just really love the art and really love the, kind of the overall story, kind of not the focus on Batman or not the focus on kind of the next run of the next little storyline. It was more of, like I said, more of an exploration of what Batman doesn't know about that's happening in Gotham right under his nose. And yeah, I really dug it. That was fun. And before I forget, the Our Bones Dust has one more issue. So issue 4 is the last one.
So Batman City of Madness is only 3 issues?
I believe it was only 3. I can double check though.
I'm looking at the cover of the third one. Is it the one with the cowl and then there's like tentacles jutting off of there? Yeah. It's pretty cool.
Oh, I loved it. I thought it was great. I love that cover. It's a beautiful cover. So,
Steve, you're starting to pique my interest, I think, more into, maybe I need, like, I think I said this before, but, and I was at the comic book store today, I think I do want to try more of the capes and cowls. It's been, I think, a few weeks since I've dipped my toe in there. Even though I did have a few, I had a Marvel book, I think it was Alien, one of the Alien series or whatever. But when I was at the comic book store today, I heard people talking about, what they really loved about, I think the Ultimate Spider-Man series. And I feel like I missed out on something. It's one of those FOMO things. And then I heard about a new Avenger series, which takes place, 40 years into the future. I was telling you earlier. And, I think I'm gonna try a little bit harder to dip back into some of these, something that maybe is a little bit different or new. So I'll keep my eye out.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about Ultimate Spider-Man. I've never really been a Spider-Man person. Way back, like the Todd McFarlane, I think series was the one when I was on board. This is like in the 90s. Just because I love the artwork so much. So I was on board then, but I'm not really the biggest Spider-Man fan, but people rave about that new Ultimate Spider-Man. And I haven't heard about the new Avengers, but there's been some X-Men books that I've tried because I used to love the X-Men when I was young too. But whenever I try a Marvel book, it feels like the artwork is very similar. It feels has the same kind of feel to it. And I think the problem is for people like us who are trying to get into it, trying to find something to kind of sink our teeth into, is that there's so many of them. There's so many titles that it's hard to know where is a good place for us to land on. Where is a good place to kind of jump into and try it out that isn't full of continuity that will keep us lost. So it's just one of those things where hopefully we'll find something that we enjoy. With Batman, I kind of feel like I can jump on and know enough. And I'm really enjoying the kind of the Gargoyle of Gotham. I really love City of Madness. I kind of lost interest in it, but I'm glad I picked up this last issue because it has really hit the mark for me. So it's very hit and miss is the bad part.
Yeah. This will be probably one of our, one of the ongoing stories in the podcast is that we continue to kind of decide how we're going to dip our toe in or out of that world, because I know it's so important to a lot of people.
Yeah, it's just tough finding one that I guess you can seek it to. Like I picked up some Wolverine. Like I skimmed through a Wolverine book. Just didn't do it. Like the new X-Men just didn't do it for me. Just yeah. So it's there's just so many of them because you go to the bookstore and there's a whole wall full of them and it's hard to know where to start. So hopefully we can find our way eventually. Yeah. So they get a soft book of the month, book of the week, and that was City of Madness issue 3. Excuse me, I think I said 4 because I wrote down the wrong number. But yeah, so overall it was an okay week. Nothing I really hated, but it was okay. I've had a lot worse weeks, but there's a lot of ups and downs, and some weeks you find you're struggling to find your pick, and some weeks it's like nothing really blew my socks off. So it just kind of happens that way. So yeah, I think that's it for this week for us. But if you'd like to connect with either of us, you can find us on page2n.com. Register on the forums and say hello. You can always come and join us if you'd like to talk about what you're reading for the week. And we're reading some other books. We're reading Berserk. We're reading some other stuff and some other plans to read more in the future. So come by and check it out and read with us. And come and tell us how wrong we are about how there's so many great superhero books out there that we're just missing out on. Let us know what we're missing out so we can pick them up. We appreciate the help. So until next week, we'll talk to everyone soon and hope you all have a great week and a great reading week.
Bye-bye.